We've got a quick question from Stuart asking about Brexit, asking how we can go about spotting a genuine end of Brexit trade talks comment versus just political posturing comments hitting the wires. And I think this is an excellent question, Stuart, not only in terms of Brexit, but it also gives us an opportunity to talk about the how you can go about spotting genuine or important market moving news in general, not only Brexit news as well. Now, I know sometimes it can be quite confusing when we get important comments hitting the wires, even more so if it's contradictory comments hitting the wires a short while apart from each other. And that can really take its toll on you if you're trying to follow along with the squawk or the news service. And at other times, there might be comments hitting the wires which sound significant and important, but under the surface, it's actually nothing more than just posturing, like you mentioned in your question. Now, a good example was the comments made by PM Johnson on Friday, when he said that Britain is moving towards a no deal, preparations. And he also added that it's clear that a Canada-style deal wasn't a workable option for the EU, and that the EU has actually already ended talks by not coming to the table with workable compromises. Now, off the cuff, that sounds pretty negative, right? But if you look under the surface, there is nothing in that that's really changed the market's expectations if you think about it. He didn't walk away from talks. He simply stated that the UK is moving forward with no preparations. That is something that we've known for a while, and that they should be doing that. And the seeming negative news of trade talks that are over wasn't actually the UK walking away. It was a bit of wordplay that seemed threatening, but really was nothing new or that significant. So the best way that I usually approach these types of events is I try to ask myself three questions. The first question is, how is the market currently priced for that particular event or theme that I'm trading, whether it's Brexit or stimulus news or vaccine news or election news? Make sure that you know what the markets are currently pricing in or expecting. That's an important step because it'll put the change in rhetoric in the comments into a lot of context. So for example, again, with Friday's news from PM Johnson, we knew the markets were currently pricing in a deal and not a no deal, or the possibility of a deal rather. So the expectations are leaning towards the two sides reaching an agreement. And right now, the only way that that is possible is as long as the two sides continue talking. That's why there was so much focus on that self-imposed deadline last week of the 15th of October. And of course, overwhelming expectations from the market that those talks would continue well after the 15th, which was the case. So the context is important to know what type of news will be market moving and which ones won't. The second question that you need to ask yourself is whether the news hitting the wires is really new. This is such an important step because oftentimes the algos will react to seemingly positive or negative news that hits the wires only to see the entire move reverse almost immediately because the news wasn't anything new. And again, coming back to Friday's announcement, if you read through the comments closely, there was actually nothing really substantially new. We knew talks hadn't progressed. We knew that neither sides felt that the other one brought enough compromises to the table. We knew the posturing would pick up moving closer towards the end of the year. So it wasn't really new in terms of the details that were shared. The bit that was new was the part where PM Johnson said that EU negotiators, they shouldn't even come to London if they're not planning to bring anything new to the table. That was a lot more aggressive from him and a lot more negative, but still more of a threat than anything else. And the third step, or the third question that you need to ask yourself then is, if it is new, was the news significant enough to change the market's current expectations? This is really the most important part of evaluating the news, because even if the news is new, if it's not significant enough to really change the market's current expectations, we can expect it to be more short-lived. Again, taking Friday's news as an example, the PM, he was definitely negative in his remarks, but the markets expected trade talks to continue. And by simply coming out negative, but not actually walking away from talks, meant that it was reasonable to expect the news to be more short-lived in terms of the actual market impact. So you always need to ask yourself these three questions when you approach the news. The first one, once again, what is the baseline expectation or outcome expected from the market? Number two, is the news being shared? Is it new, or is it something that we've heard before? And number three, if it is something new, is it important or significant enough to really change the market's current expectations for that particular event or that particular theme that you're trading? So that should be able to guide you, Stuart, in evaluating the importance of the news as you filter them throughout the session in the live markets. And as always, any other questions, please don't hesitate to let us know.